Welcome to the show. We've just caught our breath after an eventful weekend in the Premier League, and yet another round of fixtures is upon us.
Yes, Chelsea against Man United tops the bill on match week 13. We're going to be looking at what's happened in the 5 days since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's departure and the leading candidates for the job.
Well, their opponents continue to go from strength to strength. They are top of the league and they've progressed to the knockout stages of the Champions League. So how are Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea getting it so right?
And later in the show, we've got a powerful documentary on Wolves striker Raul Jimenez and a terrible injury he suffered a year ago and his road to recovery.
Joining us in the studio today are Tim Sherwood and making her debut, journalist and broadcaster Florence Lloyd-Hughes. First, though, Manchester United, who gave caretaker manager Michael Carrick a win in his first match as they progressed to the knockout stages of the Champions League after defeating Villarreal on Tuesday. Let's hear from him then. Here's Michael Carrick.
I'll be honest with you, it's not an important result for me personally. It's an important result for the club. It's an important result for the players. Tonight's not about me by any stretch. It's been obviously an emotional few days, and the first person I spoke to when it kind of all happened was, and Ed asked me to do this role, was Ollie, to almost see what he thought about it, because I felt that was the right thing to do. So I had a responsibility. I have a responsibility to be here to managing the team, and I take great pride in that. So. Yeah, it wasn't about me tonight though. It was about getting through. It was a massive game. When you get to this stage in a group of a Champions League, and it can swing so easy both ways. So it was vital that we came here and got the right result, and we managed to do that. So I'm delighted.
Really interesting to hear what Michael Carrick had to say there. I was very relaxed listening to him, and he seems very relaxed in that position. He's right, let's get this straight, shall we? After the caretaker manager turned permanent manager was sacked, he is now the caretaker manager keeping the seat warm for an interim manager who's kind of come in ahead of a permanent appointment at the end of the season. Yeah. So how do you think the caretaker manager for the interim manager for the permanent manager did?
Well, a win's always going to help you, but just the way you explain that just shows the chaotic nature in which everything's happening around Manchester United at the moment. And even the game, the two goals at the end is what Man United have been doing. They've been getting saved right at the death. It's not well structured, although I thought they played a little bit better in this game, but it's going to be interesting to see how they go moving forward.
I mean, there's not too much that Michael Carrick could do for various reasons, one of them being that he was actually on the coaching staff, and then he didn't have that much time on his own to be able to put anything strictly in place. But he did make changes. Did you see changes on the pitch? Do you see, not just in personnel, but in terms of the approach?
I had to get better, Kelly, than the last three results. I didn't think it'd get worse after the Liverpool game, but it certainly did. I think the footballing lesson, what Man City give them, and then they go to Vicarage Road, you think, oh, they're going to put it all right, against a team who've just been promoted, can't win a game. All of a sudden, it was a capitulation, which was unforgivable, really. And after the scenes after the game were even more alarming for me. You got a manager in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer walking over and almost submitting to the fans there. Took a little bit of stick, and then you got Bruno Fernandes behind him saying, no, don't just blame him, blame the rest of us as well. So, I mean, Carrick made change. He's left out Bruno Fernandes. Perhaps he's got his eye on Chelsea at the weekend, because that's the huge football match where they need to bounce back in. But it had to be better, and it was. They're through to the knockout stages. There's still a lot to play for Manchester United. That's why I can't believe this interim business and caretaker managers. Just go out and get someone. You're the biggest club in the world. Just go and identify a manager you want. There's not a manager, possibly. There's only two managers I can think of in the world of football, and that's probably Thomas Tuchel now and Pep Guardiola, which are untouchable. Anyone else, just go and get them.
So Manchester United still looking for that manager. It makes things a lot easier that they are into the knockout stages of the Champions League, and that was the significance not just of their result, but also Atalanta's result in midweek in the Champions League. So they qualified top of their group, which gives them a great chance going ahead. In terms of this process of appointing managers, it does seem somewhat convoluted and very open.
Yeah, there's not a lot of mystery to it. I mean, any time this season, especially in the Premier League, an opportunity's come up, people already sort of know who's the favourite. And when we know that Tottenham waited what seemed like forever to get Conte, and it seems like United might go through the same process in order to get Pochettino, and they've had their eye on him for a very long time. Every single time this opportunity's come up, Pochettino's been linked to it ever since he left Spurs. So it seems like they're willing to wait. It seems like they're willing to pay any price. But how much longer they'll have to wait is, I guess, the real question. Yeah, and the situation that they find themselves in is one in which, say, for example, it's Ernest Valverde, the former Barcelona manager, who comes in as an interim boss. What if he does really well? Well,
this is the problem they've got, because that's what happened with Ole. After Man United saying that they're gonna wait until the summer to see what happens, then obviously done very well, and then they changed that plan, Edward Woodward, and they signed him. And even now, the amount of time it took to actually, in the end, sack him, you actually have to feel that was Ed Woodward, simply because he was the one who gave him it in the first place. Then he gave him a new deal not long ago. So it's like, I think that the fact that it waited so long to be is because Ed Woodward didn't maybe want to sack the guy he's not long ago given a deal. But then you look at the result against Watford, and it was something that just had to happen in the end. You know, it's really, how can I say, it's just for a club of Man United's size, for it to happen like it's happened, why didn't they do it? Why didn't they do it before, like Villa did, like Norwich did, so as they can have time and find somebody, instead of now, OK, Michael Carrick's going to do it till then, and if, like you say, if he does well, or if the next person does that well, Valverde, are they going to give it to him? Who is the plan? Is it going to be Pochettino? I think these questions need to be answered quickly, but when you look at the people who are still there, because Ed Woodward's still there in a capacity, like a consultancy, he's been in charge of bringing the managers in anyway. He's been in charge of all the so-called recruiting stuff and everything what's going on at Man United. So they're going to trust him to do it again. You've still got the same staff there with Michael Carrick and Mike Phelan and Ollie's old guys. So what's going to change in the next till the end of the season? Yes, in the next till the end of the season.
Yes, in terms of who is making this appointment, or this series of appointments at Manchester United, obviously it'll be headed up by Ed Woodward. Do you see, or do you have any concerns about the fact that he is the manager who put the previous managers in place, and that he is outgoing? Yeah. And there are reports that he might be extending his time there a bit longer, but certainly not across the tenure of a manager's contract.
Yeah, you have to be concerned with the judgment of the decision makers over the last few appointments. The time what they left Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge for 3.5 seasons, you know, won no trophies. You know, if you're going to be a big club, and we all know how big Manchester United are, you know, use Chelsea for example. I mean, there would have been an opportunity during the 3-year period to go and get Thomas Tuchel if they were Manchester United. Now look what he's done to turn around the fortunes there at Chelsea. But they're ruthless. They're ruthless as a club. You know, Roman Abramovich doesn't suffer any fools. If you're not winning after a year there, you go. And he goes and finds someone else. And I'm not suggesting you don't give managers time, because I think you have, but you have to see a certain improvement. I don't think we saw that with Solskjaer. So they should have made the decision earlier, and they should have someone lined up. I mean, like I say, this is the biggest club in the world. Go and get whoever you want. It's easy to go and get a manager. It's a lot easier to get a manager than it is to go and get a player. Because if the manager goes to the owners and says, I no longer want to be your manager, I want to go to the biggest club in the world in Manchester United, then the owners cannot force that manager to stay. They can, but the fans will turn against them. It'll be a toxic atmosphere. Get the compensation and let your manager go. And that's exactly what will happen. If it's going to be Pochettino, that's exactly what happened at PSG. Now, the only thing I would suggest with Pochettino is he's got a real dilemma here, because everyone always fires the same accusation at him. You haven't won. He's won a cup last season. He will win the league if he stays at PSG this year. They're 11 points clear with the best players. Now, is it a huge achievement? Well, I'll tell you, maybe not. But I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. It's a box-ticking exercise for Pochettino, and stops people pointing the finger at him, so you haven't won. He will win this year, but does he stay to win, or does he go to Manchester United now? I think the lure of the Premier League is too great for Pochettino. I think if they make that approach, they will let him come, and Zidane will go into PSG, which suits him, managing the Galacticos. He's done it before at Real Madrid. So if Poch is your main man, go and get it done now. They stalled on it, like Righty's suggested. Conte was available. They obviously didn't want Conte, or they didn't think they was going to have to make a change with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Daniel Levy acted, made a decision, acted, gone and got Conte, stole the march on Manchester United.
Even with the best squad clearly in the league, does he learn anything, Pochettino? Does he bring something new to the Manchester United job if they wait until he's won that league title before they bring him to the club? Is it just as an experience? Will he be a slightly changed person?
No, not at all. It's just for his own personal point of view that he actually says that he's won. I mean, he's halfway to achieving that. So no, it won't make him any better. And he's got a big question. That's a real dilemma for Poch. Does he leave? Does he come? Man United have to say to him, we're not waiting for you. You come now or you don't come. We will have a replacement.
I don't think Man United are, at the moment in the current climate, are able to miss out on someone like that again. This is the problem, I think, that Man United, not only fans, but the players, and you listen to Ollie and you listen to what they say about DNA and stuff like that, and the Man United way and stuff. They've got to start to park that, simply because you mentioned Chelsea and Roman Abramovich. Because of the history of Chelsea, and you could almost say the same as Man City, Kels, they don't worry about the history and what we're meant to do and what we are and what, you know. Same thing happened with Arsenal. Same thing happened with Liverpool. You know, you could accuse them of that as well. They always going back on this history thing. This is why it's easy for someone like Roman Abramovich to go, bam, out, Frank, we love you, you're our legend, but that's not working. Whereas Man United, they'll drag it out. Arsenal, drag it out. You know, do stuff like that. Liverpool, look how long it took Liverpool to come back up because of Liverpool. This is how Liverpool do it. And I think that Man United, they've got to stop doing that and start moving to the next stage of what they've got to do.
Yeah, in terms of that Manchester United way and the DNA, the sort of ethos, if you like, of the club, every fan likes to feel that their club is special, that it has something that makes it unique. Is the difficulty with Manchester United that they had the Ferguson years of so much success for such a long period that has become the Manchester United way, if you like, and that's because of one person?
Yeah, totally, and I completely agree with Righty. I think you get wrapped up in your culture and your brand identity a lot, and I think United have focused on that a lot in recent years, and with everything that's gone in the background as well with the fans, it's important that they do that, because I think when times are tough, and we saw that with Lampard when he came in at Chelsea, it was perfect for what Chelsea needed. They needed a familiar face, they needed some nostalgia, they needed a feel-good factor, so you go with a club legend and you restore that, and then you wait for the right time, and then you get the coach, you actually get the coach. And United are in exactly the same situation now. They had the nostalgia, they kept the nostalgia for too long. The fans love it. The fans still love him. They were singing his name the other night as well. So there's no bad blood there, but they need to move on. They need to find the right coach. They need to not forget about the history, but evolve. You know, it's organic, and you have to move on. You have to look ahead and stop looking back. And I think as much as they love to obsess about it, it's holding them back, that obsession, by keep going on about this United way and a lot of the philosophies and the ethos. It's brilliant, but you also have to think about the football at the end of the day.
Yeah, and almost the strength of the manager to be able to put that behind them, because I mean, you used Liverpool as one of the examples there. When Jurgen Klopp came in, it was not about forgetting about the past, but it was very much about looking to the future, whereas previous managers, even Brendan Rodgers, who had relative success, brought back the original "This is Anfield" sign, and there was that sort of harking back, whereas for a manager to be able to go into a club as big as Manchester United and say, this is now in my image, this club is huge.
Yeah, and I think now's the time for the reset, you know, and they have to do that now. I think Pochettino really is the correct man to do it. I'm not sure there's enough credible candidates out there. Valverde, they're talking about. Yes, he's a fantastic manager, and I think he's an elite manager in Spanish football. You know, we need someone straight away. What are they going to do? They're going to wait for Pochettino at the end of the season and write off this season. Still a lot to play for. Still wide open. Top three, no, I think is taken care of. Cannot win the Premier League. Can win the FA Cup, out of the Carabao Cup, in the knockout stages of the Champions League. I don't think they can wait. Just go and get someone now. This interim manager and the caretakers are absolute nonsense. You've got a man in there now in Michael Carrick who's singing off the same hymn sheet as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, very close to him. What is he going to change between now and the end of the season? If you bring someone in, I think it's a short-term period. You either keep Ole Gunnar Solskjaer there, which they haven't done now, or go and get your man. And I think that otherwise it's going to be a laughing stock.
You say that, but with Valverde and the way he was at Barcelona, they weren't too keen on him simply because it was quite rigid, it was quite defensive, it was quite solid. And I think that's what Man United probably needs, something like that if it is him. They need to be, for me, singing off of, like you say, the hymn sheet, but standing off of a foundation of somebody who makes it all stable, so as then the offensive players can go on and get on with it. They need structure. They need somebody like that. Who, it might not be suitable to the Spanish game, especially Barcelona. They just want to be entertained with great stuff because of what they used to. But someone like him to come in, knowing that, listen, we are definitely going to be getting somebody else if you come. So if you want to come and manage Man United until the end of the season, have that on your CV, brilliant, but we are looking for someone else. Then it's up to that manager to say, well, I don't want that. But they do need somebody who's going to come in, understand what's happening, and Man United not change the goalposts themselves by saying, we're going interim till the summer, we make a decision, and then change your mind halfway through. You can't do that. You've got to tell somebody you won't be the manager. We're not going to give it to you after this because we've been bitten by that one. And so as that manager knows. So he's going to be coming in there and he's going to know that, well, I'm just literally advertising myself for someone else because I can do a good job at a club of Manchester United's size.
So if Pochettino is the right man for Manchester United, will it happen? Does he want to go? When will it happen? The man with the answers to all of those questions joins us now. Julien Laurent. Jules, I've set you up with some quite big questions there. So, first of all, is Pochettino interested?
Yeah, hi, Kelly. Hi, everyone. Massively. I mean, it's no secret that even when he was at Spurs, the United job was very much a dream job for him. So it's still very much the case. I think that's been made clear by his people, his entourage. We read it in both sides of the channels, in France and in England. So that's the fact. He's in Paris. I mean, the irony was that he was in Manchester on Wednesday night, of course, but he's the PSG manager right now, not completely happy with what he can do in that club and how things have been going on for him since he arrived almost a year ago. And I think that he would be ready to go to United as early as today, really, if given the opportunity.
How from PSG's point of view, would that play out? Would the resistance be from them not wanting to make that change at this stage?
Not really, Kelly. The only thing is, and they've been very clear, if they find a replacement and someone, not just Bob or Phil or whoever, but someone they really feel is the right guy to take over Pochettino. If they find that replacement now, then I think if United really want Pochettino and come for him and are ready to pay compensation because he still has, let's not forget, 18 months on his contract in Paris. And if Pochettino asks to leave and wants to go and is not happy anymore in Paris and doesn't want to be there, then I think PSG will open the door. Does that mean that it will happen this week or next week? I'm not so sure. Maybe more in the summer. But if, for example, Zinedine Zidane, who is very much the guy that the PSG hierarchy has in mind to take over Poch, if Zidane said, okay, I'll come now, I'll take over the team and for the next 2.5 years or whatever, then I think this would be huge for Pochettino then to go to United.
It's easy to see the fit between Zinedine Zidane and PSG because of his experience in managing the Galacticos of Real Madrid and having such incredible European success with them. What's the fit, do you think, with Pochettino at Manchester United?
That's a really interesting one because you're right. Zidane, the pragmatism, PSG, the front three, Neymar, Messi, Mbappé, all that we can see. For Pochettino, the problem in Paris, and he's complained about it already publicly, privately, he feels he doesn't have enough time. He has to win whatever way. They're all about the Champions League, winning trophies, more trophies, when he wants time to put his high press together, to put the intensity that he wants, to maybe change a few players there and there. And he feels there's no time. He said in L'Equipe last week, my philosophy is too different than the PSG philosophy. So I have to go along with what the club wants, which is, again, not what he wants. What would be like at United? I think at United, you have to win. I'm not sure you will have 2 or 3 years to put in place together and then think about winning. So I think I've got still a few question marks over is he the right fit for United right now? I mean, he's a great coach and a great guy, but if he wants time, I'm not sure he will be allowed to have so much time at United.
Yeah, Tim just mentioned Leonardo there, and that's where the conflict has been at PSG between Pochettino and the sporting director there. Is that an indication of how he may interact with the Manchester United hierarchy, do you think?
It's a difficult one, Kelly, because Thomas Tuchel had the same problems with Leonardo and people before him as well. I think Leonardo might be the problem more than whoever is on the bench in Paris right now. And then Tuchel, so far, certainly at Chelsea, has no problem with Marina Granovskaya or Preview.Tuchel or whoever is involved with him on transfers. So for Poch, it might be the same. He might go over to United and work really well with Ed Woodward if he continues a little bit more with Richard Arnold, with John Murtaugh, with Darren Fletcher, whoever is involved in transfers and planning and that sort of sporting director role, it might not have a problem. But it's true that with Leo, it is a bit more difficult. They don't really see eye to eye. I think this is an issue for Poch. Poch likes having control. He's not a control freak per se, but he likes having control. He likes being involved, ask on what to do, where to go, what direction. And I think in Paris, he feels that's not really the case. And that might be more the case in Manchester.
The other big question mark over Pochettino is the lack of trophies. There is a cup at Paris Saint-Germain, but not one of the prestigious trophies for the club. Tim was sort of making the point earlier. This might be a personal thing for Pochettino. He might want to have that league title under his belt before he moves on.
Yes, and you can see why he could also see, listen, I'll see this season out in Paris. I work with Messi and Neymar and Mbappe as hard as it is, I think, and we saw against City, this is a bit of a dysfunctional team that maybe is not too easy to manage. And think I'm going to move then to United in the summer. They're going to wait for me. They're going to have this interim coach. I agree with Tim. I think it's a crazy idea, but hey, that's what they want. But United will still have to pay PSG compensation in the summer. So if you really want Poch and you believe that Poch is the right guy, go and get him now. And I'm sure they can find a solution if PSG find a replacement. But for Pochettino, yeah, you win Ligue 1. But on the other hand, you could have a car crash in the Champions League because PSG are qualifying for the last 16, but they can have a tough draw and they're out in the last 16, and he does worse than what his predecessors have done in Paris in terms of the Champions League for the last few years, and that wouldn't look good for him. So maybe the best option is to actually go now, don't have to work with that front three that looks unmanageable at times, and move on to United and bigger things.
Julien, thank you very much for joining us. Going to be fascinating to see how this one plays out. Thank you very much to Julien Laurent. It is just so complicated, even that one move. It's, you know, as you said, you would think if you're Manchester United, you can go and say, we want that manager, and then we're going to pay the compensation and we'll bring him in. Yeah. But there are all the different factors that come into play. Yeah, but I do, to a certain extent, agree with that, with Man United. Make it known that's who we want. So whether it is, if it's going to be interim, then Michael Carrick stays until the end, and if it's going to be the summer, then he can do it. And if he does come in now, then he comes in and he brings all these people in. But I don't think being a manager of PSG causes you any problems in respect of your managerial career. Like, look at Unai Emery, you look at Thomas Tuchel, and now Pochettino, with the problems he's having at that club with what he's got to try and do to manage it. It seems like a massive poison chalice to me. I think that he'd be perfect for Man United and what he wants them to do. Be interesting what he does. Obviously, he's still got Cavani there, he's still got Ronaldo there, and how he wants to play. But I think he organises that Man United side and they start to do stuff differently. Yeah, and we're talking about Valverde potentially as because he's the name of the handful of managers that they're looking at that's come to the fore. But you were talking about the sort of organisational capacities that he has. For Pochettino, is he a good fit for Manchester United in a different way?
I think he's a perfect fit for the long-term project. I think he'll sing off the same hymn sheet as them, and also he'll be very demanding to the players. He'd get the best out of the individuals. We saw what he'd done to Tottenham. He took them to the Champions League final, not so long ago. Played a very high intensity, got the boys fit, got good players, world-class players in some of them, not too many there, but improved them. Made them run around, made them work out of possession, which Man United players are actually not doing at the moment. Just want to play when the sun shines and no obstacles in the way. Too many of those. He will get a team. He will make the team better, and he will make sure it's about the team and not the individuals. That is why he's having. That's why PSG. That's why Tuchel struggled there, because they play as a group as individuals. Now, when players are actually not doing at the moment, just want to play when the sun shines and no obstacles in the way. Too many of those. He will get a team. He'll make the team better, and he will make sure it's about the team and not the individuals. That's why he's having a struggle at PSG. That's why Tuchel struggled there, because they play as a group, as individuals. Now, when you listen to Julian there and what we're just throwing it around, Zidane is the perfect fit for them. He's the perfect fit now. It almost fits perfectly. If he wants that job, I think that paves the way for Pochettino to leave and come to Man United now. Not at the end of the season, now. Because managing Galacticos is what he did. The pragmatic style of how he managed, where he's got a solid base and he let the three up top just go and win you the game, it suits the group of players. He's done it before, Parisian himself. I think it's a perfect fit. The more you think about it, I think go and make contact with them. It's up to PSG to make contact with Zidane. It will pave the way for Poch to come to the dream job, which is Manchester United. The only dilemma is the one I keep going back to. He would want to stay just to tick that box of, I've won the domestic league. Because he's going to come to Man United, and I think he'll be a success. 100%, I think it gives him long-term and short-term success.
I would say, though, the only issue is Pochettino being a great long-term option for United. United don't think long-term about these things. Are they suddenly going to change that mindset?
Well, they did with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Well, they did with Moyes, but they keep changing their minds. At the moment, the transfer policy as well looks like short-term fixes.
But if you want short-term fix, they missed out on your man for a short-term fix. You know, they should have acted and got Antonio Conte. He never spends more than 2 years at any club, and he always wins. And he don't just win a Mickey Mouse Cup. He goes and wins the domestic league. Now, and they throw money at it. Man United are not short of money. They can't point the finger at Ed Woodward and the board of directors and the owners, the Glazers, and not spending money. They spend an absolute fortune. He would have been a perfect fit for the short term.
You think, Tim?
They stalled on it.
He doesn't play. Conte, he'll have Bruno Fernandes. He doesn't really play with attack.
Forget how they're playing. We talked about throwing the philosophy out the window, didn't we? Earlier, it's got to have a reset. Don't worry about that.
He's still got to play a style of football. He's still got to play a style of football where his teams press, his teams close down. So you've got Cavani, you've got Ronaldo up the top. So he's going to need that. He doesn't play with number 10. You know what I mean? It would be interesting to see how that would have worked out, because he doesn't stay long in places, Conte. But I can't see how Man United would have been a team for him, Tim. I honestly don't. Not the way he is, even though he is short term. Going into that dressing room, he hasn't got the players to move around and do what he wants, I don't think.
But if Pochettino does come, everything around the club has to change and make a long-term approach too. So the short-termism of just spending loads of money on a Ronaldo contract or spending loads of money on Sancho and then not really playing him, that has to change if you bring in a manager who you're expecting to be there for 5 years. Because at the moment, every single time they have done that with Moyes and potentially with Van Gaal, it's gone horribly wrong. Yeah. So that if you go for a manager that's long-term, everything has to change and be long-term as well. And I feel like the quest and the thirst for winning trophies because of the past, it overrides that. It overrides actually the long-term strategic nature of it, because they're so obsessed with the here and now.
Wow.
It might be that what Jules said about Pochettino and the fact he likes to have that much control in a club might actually work in Manchester United's favour if he does get himself involved in